Have you ever been sure about something, only to find out you were completely wrong? Like a detail from your childhood, a famous line in a movie, or even a logo you've seen 1,000 times. If this has ever happened to you, then you've already fallen for something called the Mandela Effect. Here's a quick test. Was it spelled Looney Tunes or Looney Tunes? Think carefully. If you answered Tunes, you're not alone. Millions of people swear it was spelled that way. But the truth is, it has always been Looney Tunes. Surprised? That's the Mandela Effect at work. Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to show you several examples that will blow your mind. And I'll explain why our brains keep tricking us this way. Plus, at the end, I'll share how this connects to a theory that suggests we may even be living in parallel universes. The Mandela Effect got its name from Nelson Mandela, the former president of South Africa. Many people around the world believed he died in prison in the 1980s. They remember seeing news reports, world leaders giving speeches, and even watching a funeral on TV. But here's the twist. Nelson Mandela didn't die in prison. He was released in 1990 and later became president. He actually passed away in 2013. So how could so many people have the same false memory of his death decades earlier? This strange and collective mix-up gave birth to the term Mandela Effect. At its core, the Mandela Effect happens when large groups of people remember the same detail or event incorrectly. It isn't just one person making a mistake. It's millions of people sharing the same wrong memory. Psychologists say this happens because our memories aren't perfect recordings. They work more like puzzle pieces. Sometimes our brains fill in the missing gaps with information that feels right, even if it's wrong. And once enough people repeat the same version, it spreads like wildfire, making the false memory stronger. Let's go through some of the most famous examples. I'll bet you'll recognize a few. First up, the Berenstain Bears. Many people swear this childhood book series was spelled Berenstein Bears with an EIN. In fact, some still refuse to believe otherwise. But if you look at every book cover, it's spelled Berenstain with an AIN. Strange, right? Next is the one I mentioned earlier, Looney Tunes. Millions remember it as Looney Tunes because cartoons make sense. But it has always been tunes, like music tunes. Another big one comes from Star Wars. Do you remember the famous line, "Luke, I am your father"? Guess what? Darth Vader never said that. The real line is, "No, I am your father." Yet, most people remember it the other way. It's been repeated in jokes, movies, and TV shows so often that the false version feels more real than the actual one. How about the Fruit of the Loom logo? Many people swear there used to be a cornucopia behind the fruit. The truth? There never was one. Just fruit, plain and simple. Yet so many people imagine the horn of plenty behind it. And then there's the Monopoly Man. Picture him in your mind. He has a top hat, right? A suit? And of course, a monocle on his eye. Wrong. He never had a monocle. Our brains probably mixed him up with Mr. Peanut, who does wear one. These are just a few. There are dozens more. Curious George never had a tail. Pikachu's tail never had a black tip. The famous line from Snow White isn't "Mirror, mirror on the wall." It's "Magic mirror on the wall." Yet so many of us clearly remember it differently. So why does this happen? Psychologists offer several explanations. One is confabulation. That's when the brain fills in memory gaps with details that never actually happened. It doesn't mean you're lying. It means your brain is protecting the story in your mind by making it feel complete. Another reason is the power of suggestion. When you hear thousands of people repeat the same wrong detail, your brain begins to accept it as fact. It becomes a shared false memory. And then there's the internet effect. In the age of memes and social media, one mistake can be copied, reposted, and believed by millions in hours. What starts as a joke or typo can quickly turn into something people believe they always remembered. But here's where it gets interesting. Some people believe the Mandela Effect isn't just a brain trick. They think it could be proof of parallel universes. The idea is that in one timeline, something happened one way. In another timeline, it happened differently. And somehow, we switched timelines or picked up fragments of memory from another universe. For example, maybe in one timeline, the Monopoly man really did have a monocle. In ours, he doesn't. Or in another timeline, Nelson Mandela really did die in prison, while in this one, he lived for many more years. Now, scientists don't agree on this theory. Most say it's simply psychology and memory. But the fact that so many people share the same mistakes makes the idea of alternate realities tempting to believe. The Mandela Effect also tells us something deeper. It shows how fragile our memories can be. We trust our minds, but the truth is, memory is flexible. It can be shaped by repetition, by culture, and even by our own expectations. Think about it. If so many of us can get these details wrong, what else might we be remembering incorrectly? How many of our stories, our beliefs, even our history could be shaped by collective false memories? So what do we take away from the Mandela Effect? First, it's a reminder to stay curious. Our brains are powerful, but not perfect. Second, it's a fun way to see how connected we are. Millions of strangers across the world all share the same false memories. It's strange, but also kind of amazing. And finally, it shows us that reality might not always be as solid as we think. Whether it's psychology or parallel universes, the Mandela Effect proves that memory is more fragile than we ever imagined. Here's your reward for sticking with me until the end. The Mandela Effect isn't the only theory that challenges the way we see the world. There's another one called the butterfly effect. It says the smallest action, like missing a bus or saying hello to a stranger, could completely change your future. And once you hear some of the stories behind it, you'll never look at your choices the same way again. So make sure to like this video, share it with a friend who loves strange theories, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. The butterfly effect might just blow your mind even more.